Build hope.
Build knowledge.
Build wealth.
Build power.
Build legacy.
Build capacity.
Opportunity.
And community.
BuildNOLA.
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 BuildNOLA. BuildNOLA. BuildNOLA. BuildNOLA. Build hope.
Build knowledge.
Build wealth.
Build power.
Build legacy.
Build capacity.
Opportunity.
And community.
BuildNOLA.
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 BuildNOLA. BuildNOLA. BuildNOLA. BuildNOLA.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How are you doing this morning? My name is Jade Brown Russell, and I am one of the partners for the BuildNOLA program. I want to welcome all of you to this BuildNOLA Speaker Series event. If you joined us back in March of this year, with the one and only Les Brown, you know what the speaker series is all about. A lot has happened between March and now, including a global pandemic, but also we have launched the BuildNOLA program, a 3-track program with businesses that are just starting up, businesses that are priming themselves to become contractors with city agencies. And we also have a phenomenal track 3 for contractors who are gearing themselves up to become bond ready. So we have done a lot in a short period of time, and we're so excited to be here with you all for this speaker series and our guests that we will be introducing to you shortly. Listen, BuildNOLA is a program that is really just endorsed and pushed and promoted by not only the city of New Orleans, which is a great partner, but also Delgado Community College. So we want to make sure that we recognize and thank those who are responsible for putting this great program together. We also want to make sure that we're thanking every single partner. And there are so many, too many to name, but we have agencies across the city of New Orleans who have been tuning into our live Zoom sessions every day during the week for our participants. We have over 90 plus participants who are participating in this program. So the program is definitely making and will make a difference in the city. So we're very, very proud of that. It is my honor and my privilege to introduce to you all Ms. Kalisha Garrett, who has not only been a partner of BuildNOLA, who is not only the executive director of the New Orleans Regional Black Chamber of Commerce, but she is also a small business owner herself. So we are so proud to have her here with us this morning, and I'm going to turn it over to her to introduce our guests for this morning. Kalisha?
Good morning. Thank you, Jade. And good morning to all of you all who have logged in with us today to the BuildNOLA Speaker Series. 2020 has proven to be a year of first, last, challenges, growth, and transformation. As we all have had to pivot or revamp our normal operations, we continue to press forward to achieve our goals and reach for further heights. We are blessed to have with us today a true life conqueror, and it is my honor to introduce our speaker for today, a proud New Orleans native, our former Mayor, Marc Morial. Mr. Morial is the president and CEO of the National Urban League, the nation's largest historic civil rights and urban advocacy organization. Over the years, he has been described as one of the few national leaders to possess both street smarts and boardroom savvy. He served as the highly successful and popular mayor of New Orleans, as well as the president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Additionally, he was a Louisiana state senator and a lawyer in New Orleans with an active, high-profile practice. He is a leading voice on the national stage in the battle for jobs, education, housing, and voting rights equity. A graduate of Georgetown University Law Center and the University of Pennsylvania, he has been recognized as one of the 100 most influential Black Americans by Ebony Magazine, one of the top 50 nonprofit leaders by the Nonprofit Times, and one of the 100 most influential Black lawyers in America, as he has also been inducted into the International Civil Rights Walk of Fame in Atlanta, Georgia. Prior to Mr. Morial presenting, we would like to share a brief video highlighting some powerful, impactful photos depicting the thought leader, change maker, trailblazer that is about to share with us today. Please tune. It is my honor to welcome Mr. Marc Morial to our BuildNOLA Speaker Series.
Good morning, and good morning, Kalisha, and thank you for the generous introduction. And I don't know where you found some of those photos, but they were fun to look at, some from a while ago. Let me thank the entire BuildNOLA team for inviting me today. I certainly want to acknowledge Jade's leadership, not only of this project, but of many things that she does, including wearing a very important hat as the chair of the board of the Urban League of Louisiana. And certainly, Kalisha, you and Arkebia for facilitating just the few minutes I'll have to spend with everyone this morning. I want to say good morning to New Orleans. I want to say go Saints, go. And I can't wait to get some authentic gumbo. When this COVID is over, I can get back home and get some authentic gumbo. But I want to also acknowledge the 70 plus business owners that have been selected to be a part of this BuildNOLA Speaker Series. And I just want to offer a few thoughts this morning. As I thought about this morning and as I looked at the BuildNOLA website and prepared to speak to you all, I reminisced a bit because the city of New Orleans began its commitment to try to grow Black businesses and minority businesses in my father's administration in the late 70s and the early 1980s. And maybe a forgotten fact was the first Office of Minority Business Enterprise was actually headed by Marlon Gussman, who is now the sheriff for New Orleans, of course, served as a member of the city council, served me as my chief administrative officer, and served in my father's administration when he was just a graduate of the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania before he even went to law school. In my time, we sought to elevate and energize that program in a significant way under the leadership of Eugene Green and later Arnold Baker, both two very strong leaders who took the helm of that office and created infrastructure within government and policies within government to ensure that minority businesses had a place. In those days, it was a very aggressive fight because there was opposition. There was cynicism to the idea that the city should be promoting small business, but most specifically minority business economic development. Now it's a broader consensus amongst policymakers and elected officials and business leaders that this is a very important, vital role for city government to play. And in this instance, BuildNOLA is a partnership which includes not only government, but the private and nonprofit sectors coming together to try to build and enhance and develop a stronger small and minority business community in New Orleans. So that history is important to remember, because this history is the history of struggle, it's the history of striving, it's the history of many, many people on the front lines who have been working very hard to create a stronger business community, a stronger Black business community, and a stronger small business community. This work is now more essential than ever. In the George Floyd moment, the tragic death of George Floyd and the awakening that we've seen on issues of racial and social justice in this country, we have got to ensure that that awakening includes economic justice, empowerment, inclusion, and participation. We've got to ensure that that is the case. Notwithstanding the fact that there have been supplier diversity programs or minority business opportunity programs or affirmative action business programs or minority business set-aside programs or DBE or SDBE or WBE programs now for almost 50 years, going back to just after the civil rights movement of the 1960s. The fact of the matter is that 90% of Black-owned businesses have one employee or less. But the fact of the matter is also that no one has more energy about building small businesses than people from communities of color across the board. African American, Latinx, Asian American, the energy. And within those communities, the greatest energy is among women who have the great ability to sometimes hold a job and build a business simultaneously, which is what many entrepreneurs are required to do to get a business off the ground. So there's a tremendous amount of energy out there, and there's a tremendous amount of seeds that are being planted. I look at what BuildNOLA is doing is watering and fertilizing those seeds. When we have to water them and fertilize them, but you know what else you have to do in a garden? You got to keep the weeds out. You have to keep the weeds and the brush and the things that would strangle the saplings until they grow big and strong. And those weeds are naysayers. Those weeds are cynics. Those weeds are discriminatory lending policies. Those weeds are difficulty in accessing venture capital. Those seeds are sometimes the implicit bias that goes along with people saying, I wonder if this business person can really provide a quality good or service to me. We got to get the weeds out of the garden. And you know how weeds are. You pull up the weeds today, a big rain comes, and the weeds are there tomorrow. And you can't say, I thought I pulled those weeds up. No, go back out, pull the weeds up again. We have to continue to pull those weeds out of the garden. This is why it's critical at this moment in American history. One of the most pressing issues facing this nation is this issue of, it's called, described sometimes as income inequality. within income inequality, there is racial income inequality. Within the broader context of income or economic inequality, there's this racial wealth gap. This racial wealth gap. Now, I grew up in New Orleans and remember as a little boy, the large and robust number of Black businesses that existed in the city. That time period, those businesses existed because of necessity. White contractors would not work for Black people. White architects would not work for Black people. Black people could not try on clothes in a white-owned establishment. And I could continue to go on and on and on. So Black people in the post-Reconstruction era, in the post as slavery ended, we built this community infrastructure, which included businesses. I remember going to the Black-owned Esso station. It was on the corner of where AP 2 Row and St. Bernard Avenue meet. There's a Liberty Bank, old Liberty Bank branch at that site. I think it's abandoned at this point. I remember across the street, there was Vauquersons. Vauquersons at that time was a meat market that sold every kind of meat that you wanted to have. And I could continue to up and down Claiborne Avenue, many other places. There was a robust community of African-American businesses. This is not to suggest that the community was better off then than it is now. It is to demonstrate that the acumen and the ability and the smarts and the sensibility to build businesses has always been part of whether it's the Black, the Latino, or the Asian American community. And what we need is to pull these weeds out and bring some fertilizer in. So the banks, the venture capitalists, the large businesses in New Orleans, have a lot more that they can do, far more than they can do to create opportunities. The banks in New Orleans have a lot more that they need to be doing. The city and public agencies in a majority African-American city, in a region and in a state where 1/3 of the people are Black and some probably 35 to 38% are non-white, the public agency should lead the way. And the public officials and the elected officials need to hold every public agency accountable for increasing the amount of business they do with African-American businesses, Latinx businesses, Asian American businesses, women-owned businesses, year over year. So I want to just encourage all of you and to remind everyone that casting a vote in this election does affect and will affect whether, for example, we get the kind of stimulus bill that truly benefits small businesses and African American and Latinx and Asian American small businesses, because PPP was a disaster. It was not properly designed, and it needs to be designed so that the jam, more of the jam is on the bottom shelf. Put the peanut butter and jelly on the bottom shelf, where businesses with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 employees don't limit it only to payroll protection, make it broader. Businesses have to pay rent, businesses have to pay inventory. We need a new approach. And so when you cast your vote, it has been absolutely outrageous to me that the House of Representatives passed $3 trillion stimulus in May, and the Senate and the White House have fiddled around and nothing additional has been done. When you cast your vote, give consideration to these very important issues. So again, it is always an honor and a pleasure. At the National Urban League, I should say, we do a number of things in this space. Number one, we have 12 entrepreneurship centers located within our affiliates, including one at the Urban League of Louisiana on Carrollton Avenue. Through that network, we service about 14,000 small businesses a year. About 85% of them are Black owned, but we serve all small businesses through that platform. We host a conference each year called Small Business Matters. And we also host a day on Capitol Hill for the business owners that we serve. And we also have a community development lending arm that we are now working on a revival of that effort right now. So we do important work, and we maintain an advocacy voice on these issues. So thank you all for having me. I'll take a few questions, but I know you've got a busy day and a robust program. And let me encourage all the business owners to remember, being an entrepreneur is a great joy with lots of pain. It's not an easy thing to do. If you want something easy, don't be an entrepreneur. But if you want to be fulfilled and ratified, and if you like being in charge of your own destiny, entrepreneurship is for you.
Wow, I think I can probably share the sentiments of many of those that have placed comments in the chat bar, and those questions that we have received from our participants within the programs. But I just want to say, wow, though you have shared with us some nuggets of wisdom, brought us back through a history lesson really quick, and pointed out that what we have done, we can do and will do again. And the what ifs here as inequality or gaps are just those weeds that we need to pull and plant the seeds that are going to grow. So I do want to thank you so much for pouring into us. This is invaluable. And with that, we do have a few questions, if you don't mind. Just wanted to ask, with what we are experiencing today in the midst of the pandemic and the changes that are going on in the election cycle, what do you feel is the best way that we can build wealth in America as a young, budding, or experienced minority-owned business that is facing the need to pivot and be agile and resilient during this time?
First, every business has to figure out how to make maximum use of technology. If you're selling a product, can you sell it online by using the tools that are available, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and other tools that are available? Can businesses bind together to co-promote? Businesses have to. If you're in a restaurant business, you've got to have a relationship with a DoorDash. You've got to create a takeout opportunity where people can call, text, send you the order. They can drive by and pick it up outside, or you can have it delivered to their homes. You've got to pivot in a significant way, number one, to be able to survive. That is so key. I know you'll go over some of the issues of how to conserve and manage limited amounts of money if money is shrinking, if sales are shrinking. I think that's number one. Number two, you have to be an advocate. The business community, look, guys, don't get into the BMW syndrome. You know what the BMW syndrome is? Bitch, moan, and whine. Don't get in that syndrome. Be an activist that speaks collectively to the banks, to the city, the state, and the federal agencies, to the businesses along Poydras Street. Be active in saying we want an opportunity. All the studies show that if we unleash the power of Black small businesses, brown small businesses, Asian small businesses, if we unleash the power and we put a dent in the inequality of income in America, we would have 2 to 3 trillion more added to our GDP. That's the point. So importantly is the need, and I know the chambers are there. Chambers serve to support the chambers, the urban leagues. We have to be vocal. This effort in this discussion about a new stimulus or a new recovery plan. Get to the table. Make a demand of the elected officials. Ask the local elected officials to weigh in publicly with members of Congress and the White House. We have to be advocates, right, for the betterment. Not just, sometimes I would get unsettled, I should use the term, with folks would come in and say, well, you know, I don't want to do that. I want to just do something for myself. I said, well, you know, selfishness has its place, but everybody's got to be an advocate for the broader good and the broader sector.
Thank you. And as we talk about that advocacy and what we can do, and I'm thankful that you mentioned the chambers and urban leagues and how our businesses should embrace and participate with those agencies for that information. We're looking at what would be deemed viable economic impact that can be made in our city. We know that we have areas such as New Orleans East, the Lower Ninth Ward, the cutoff area in Algiers, where there's acres of land that's ripe for development. Where we can change the trajectory of the jobs that are offered to our citizens within our community. What do you think, or what are some thoughts regarding
this is probably an area, you know, if I could offer, where the city probably working with the state, because the state's a powerful engine, needs a comprehensive policy, because the first thing about the land is who controls it and owns it, right? And whether you have an owner who wants to put it back into commerce, or whether the city and the state have to purchase some of the land in order to put it back into commerce. Because an owner may say, well, I'm only going to do a deal that pays me fair market value. The city may say, well, I'll buy it from you at fair market value, but I may need to give it to somebody on a more attractive basis. Here in New York, the city has an Economic Development Corporation. The state has an Empire State Development Corporation. These quasi-public corporations control and in a consolidated way, city and state-owned land. And so whether it's New Orleans East, or whether it's the cutoff or any other neighborhood, I think it speaks to the need for there to be this is one of those areas where the entrepreneurs need the muscle of the city and the muscle of the state to have a comprehensive plan or strategy to look at what would work, you know, and you've got to be concerned about environmental issues and not cite businesses that are going to harm the neighborhood. But I think it takes a strategy, and this takes leadership from the top, I think, to do something that is significant. I mean, my father created the Almanesta Mishu Industrial District back in the 1980s, late 70s and 80s. It never realized its full potential. However, I don't think people understand the giant that NASA facility out there represents. That's one of the largest manufacturing facilities in the world under one roof. it kind of operates quietly. It's been there. And another piece of history, that facility was built by the federal government. And that's where Andrew Higgins, after whom Higgins Place is named after, the New Orleans industrialist who built the D-Day landing crafts. He built them at that facility and many other facilities. And interestingly, Higgins, in those days, as I understand, hired Black people, and Black people and white people made the same wage working out. That facility has a long history. It supports the station. So there's an anchor out there, but Amazon Astor never fully realized its potential. That does not mean that a renewed effort to think about that land and what possibilities there. Look, Amazon's building warehouses and logistics centers all over the place, right? Alma Nestor is close to I-10. There are rail links that connect. There's shipping links that connect back into that area through the intracoastal waterway systems. So, there are, coming out of this pandemic, and this is an area where the state and the city, I think, need to work together to get the kind of lift you need to go after large projects.
Yeah, and to that, you actually bring up a great point that some of our class participants have asked about, because historically, well, of the recent past, we have not been as integrated in manufacturing and distribution in those channels, and having access to even ports and being able to ship out globally to do transfers between communities or between countries, right? Import, export, and how we go about that. Can you share or give us a little?
So it's important to understand that the Port of New Orleans, which is a powerful engine, is primarily a port of what's called transshipment, which means ocean-going vessels come to the port and product is sometimes offloaded and put on a truck or on a train or on a barge to go inland up the Mississippi River system. So we have a lot of ports of the system in South Louisiana, which is the Port of New Orleans, the Port of South Louisiana, and the Port of Baton Rouge. Those three ports together are ports of transshipment. We don't have enough origination and destination, meaning goods being manufactured here that go to the port and are being sent abroad, or raw goods that terminate here, with the exception of coffee, right? I don't know if the Folgers plant is still in New Orleans East, right? If it is, it's the largest coffee roasting facility in the United States, right in New Orleans. I mean, there's a lot of hidden gems, out there that have been kind of rocking along and employing people, but there's also a lot of upside potential. So we have there's always been a discussion about how you make best use of the asset of the port. And, the port over the last 20 years, it started, in the late 90s and the early 2000s, has now built a pretty significant cruise ship capabilities, which is extremely powerful. So, one of the things about economic development is how not to dream about what you don't have and how to use what you have, how to leverage what you do have. And the region and the city have assets that, always try to deploy. We worked hard in my time on building a technology business industry. It was a burgeoning, there were lots of little startups. You had the Navy Center down where Punchdrain Beach is at UNO. But 9/11 came, Katrina came. There were some things that have interrupted. Now COVID has come, but you got to come out of it with a strategy, right? And the strategic location of New Orleans. And New Orleans has something. Look, New Orleans has quality of life. Look, my job gives me a chance to travel all over the country. So I've been to Detroit, Cincinnati, Cleveland, St. Louis, Milwaukee, Madison, Scranton, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh. Beautiful cities, wonderful cities. Ain't no place like New Orleans for the character and for sort of the quality of life and the culture. But we also have a set of problems that are intractable. Our poverty is intractable. And number two, the racial climate beyond New Orleans is not what it needs to be to really foster the kind of inclusionary growth that we want and that we need in New Orleans.
You've actually made a great point and kind of segue into the last question that I wanted to pose to you is more on that transformation. Now that COVID has impacted the day-to-day and severely impacted our hospitality community, of which many of our citizens are the labor, front staff labor, and not so much the owner. We want to understand how do you think it's best for entrepreneurs of color to get into the space of hospitality, and while also toggling with the ever evolving COVID guidelines and what the new norm is looking to be?
So I think it's going to be tough to predict what the new norm of hospitality is, because people have figured out how to do virtual events and virtual conferences. Now, I don't think it's going to replace in-person events. I really do not. The question is, does it change the character of it to some extent? Let me give you an example. Prior to 9/11, New Orleans was the site of many huge medical industry conferences, many huge technology industry conferences, and to many respects, before the internet was really mature, was a place. New Orleans became a place where companies and industries would roll out their new products. We used to have CA World, Computer Associates. Every year, they had a big event in New Orleans. They would roll out all their new enterprise software capabilities. They were one of the early creators of enterprise type software. When the internet became developed, they rolled it out online. They didn't need to bring everybody to one location. The question is, how is it going to change? Now, one thing we need to make sure, we need to make sure that every step is taken to make sure the Essence Festival comes back, which has been an anchoring event that has introduced the city to lots of people who would not otherwise be introduced to the city. Business people, celebrities, decision makers. So we have to make sure, and we need anchoring events. We need an aggressive effort, continued aggressive effort to go after Super Bowls, Final Fours, sporting events. We need all of the big events, the Jazz Fest, the French Quarter Fest, the Satchmo Fest, the Essence Festival. We need all of them to be revived. And I think that the city and the business leaders in the hospitality industry, we've always anchored our visitor industry with big events in New Orleans. So I think pulling for those to come back, but also trying to understand, I don't know if anyone's got a perfect crystal ball to really look and say, how's this going to be after COVID? But I mean, I think some people just dying to see their friends, dying to see their associates. But then some of us who travel a lot don't mind if I don't have to get on as many planes. So it's kind of a catch, mix and match, little here and a little there. So it's just, great to offer some thoughts. I'm sure there'll be more discussions about this, but I think right now the big thing is planning for the post-COVID from an economic standpoint. I mean, there's going to be, and then also trying to what lots of places are trying to navigate a balance between being totally shut down to being totally open. How can you navigate and balance, keep people safe? And then there's going to be a vaccine, and we have to work on vaccine acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say this. I remember as a little boy standing in the hot sun, I might have been 2 years old, to get a polio shot. I remember it was over at Corpus Christi School. They had polio shots. They had a line. It seemed like they had 1,000 people in line. But you went in there and you got your shot, and it was something kids had to do. Young children had to do. So, all this to say, now's the time to hang on, vote, and then let's plan and be ready to advocate for a better future.
Oh my God, thank you so much for sharing. I do want to acknowledge, as you just brought up your childhood, our next panelist is actually tuning in with us today, and she knows you very well, Miss Janet Hill. And I want to give you the opportunity to say hello to her. She's on the line.
Hello, and I remember when you were 2 years old, because I'm a lot older than you are.
Hi, Janet. How are you?
I'm good, and I remember the polio shots. If we can just get a vaccine that's 98% effective, like the polio vaccine,
right.
We will be in nirvana.
We'll be in nirvana. We need it. I'm praying for all the scientists and doctors. I tell you, so good to see you.
Very good to see you. Congratulations.
God bless you and the family. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you again so much. I just wanted to let you know she was tuning in.
That is great. Thanks, Kalisha.
Sharing with us soon. So I'm going to let you have parting words, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Jade.
Let me just say thank you to everyone. Have a great day. Don't forget to vote, and long live NOLA, the big 504. Who dat? Go Saints. And Pelicans.
Thank you so much, Marc Morial. So many just nuggets of wisdom. I literally got goosebumps while we were talking. So of course, you are always the son of New Orleans. So we appreciate all you're doing, both locally and.
Thank you, Jay.
So we love you. Thank you,
Thank
Marc.
you. God bless. Love y'all.
Bye-bye. So just to wrap things up for us today, I want to thank again all of our participants. We've had great participation for this speaker series. I want to give a huge shout out to all of the participants, all of the BuildNOLA participants who have joined us this morning. But I also want to thank the general public who have come on just to see a peek behind the curtain of what happens at BuildNOLA. So we're so honored and just proud to be able to bring the speaker series to you. I also want to thank, I've seen our Delgado partners, our City of New Orleans partners. I see some of our other agency partners that have joined us today. Thank you for going the extra mile on behalf of small businesses in the City of New Orleans. I too also want to thank Ms. Janet Hill, and I'm going to quickly share my screen for just a second. I'm sorry, but just want to share my screen quickly for a second. This is our next BuildNOLA Speaker Series speaker, Ms. Janet Hill. If you are not familiar with her, please, please, please check her out. Ms. Janet Hill will be joining us on next Saturday, October 31st. I know it's Halloween, but it's early in the day. You are not taking those kids out there early to trick or treat. So we want to make sure you're here for this dynamic speaker. She is a New Orleans native. Not only was she the babysitter of Marc Morial, she is also the mother of the phenomenal NBA star Grant Hill. She is the